The story begins. All these oil mining workers' plane accidentally falls down in one of the coldest and most freezing regions of Alaska. There, along with facing extremely dangerous wolf packs, they also come face to face with animals that seemed like muted or altered versions of those wild creatures. The beginning of this amazing story shows a man named John, who was struggling a lot in his life. John actually worked inside a factory located in a deeply snow-covered area of Alaska. This factory extracted oil from beneath the ground and refined it, and in that massive factory, several thousands of workers used to work every single day. The temperature there was so extremely low that many food items would freeze the moment they were exposed to the open air. Surviving in such unbearable conditions was becoming harder and harder. But even after dealing with all these harsh realities, John was under even more mental tension. His wife had gone very far away from him emotionally, and perhaps she might even divorce him. This was because John could not give proper time to his wife. He stayed occupied with this job for many months continuously and never managed to go home. John actually worked as a shooter in that oil mining factory. His duty was to kill the dangerous wolves roaming around the area, wolves that frequently attacked the workers. The company absolutely did not want their employees to get injured because of wolves, and that is why they appointed John, so he could shoot those wolves before they harmed anyone. John had already saved the lives of many employees from those wolves. He also had a gun with him so that he could shoot them from a distance. But now, John had begun to feel that he could not stay away from his wife just for the sake of earning money. After all, he was earning all this money only to build a family. If he did not have his family anymore, then what meaning would this job even hold? John had even written a letter to his wife telling her to wait for him just a little longer. He would return and fix everything. Now John goes inside the factory where all the workers were busy doing their respective tasks. Suddenly, some workers begin shouting loudly because they spot a dangerous wolf. That wolf was coming close to attack them. As soon as John notices this situation, he immediately takes out his gun. His aim was excellent, so he fires a shot that directly hits the wolf. The poor wolf collapses on the ground and dies right there. John slowly walks toward the dead wolf. He too feels terrible that he has to take the lives of these innocent animals. But John places his hand on the dead wolf and says that this is the last time. This clearly meant that John was quitting this job. Today was his final day. He would now return to his family. This entire area was filled with large wolf packs, and that is why John was given this job. But now, the company would probably have to find his replacement. John's shift timing gets over, so he, along with a few selected workers, boards a plane to return to his country. They all knew very well how horribly one had to survive in a place as cold as Alaska. Without any delay, all of them go inside the plane and sit down, praying that they reach their families safely. Everything was going fine, and John had already filled his mind with all sorts of happy imaginations, like how he would build a small farm after returning to his wife, and even if he earned less money in another job, he would still remain happy. But neither John nor the other employees had any idea that fate was about to take them somewhere completely unexpected. As soon as the plane rises into the air, something goes wrong inside it. The pilots lose complete control. Because of this, the entire plane full of employees crashes down onto the ground. The crash landing injures many employees seriously, and many others die instantly. John and the few who manage to survive come out and try to help as many people as possible. This sudden and massive accident was beyond anyone's imagination. Worse, they had crash-landed in one of Alaska's coldest places, where there was neither a company base camp nor any kind of shelter. When John goes inside the plane to rescue his friends, many of them die right in front of his eyes. Seeing this, he becomes emotionally shattered, but he still has to survive. Everything around was scattered, and many people had completely vanished without a trace. Suddenly, a wolf appears there and attacks John's leg, injuring him badly. But John and the others had managed to grab some makeshift weapons, using which they frighten the wolves and force them to go away. John realizes that their plane has landed in the coldest possible area, and around this place there could be many wolf packs. They could also hear the wolves howling from far away, which was definitely not a good sign. John quickly tells the remaining survivors that they will have to spend the night right here. At night, the temperature drops even further. This means they will need a fire to keep their bodies warm. All the employees already respected John as a good leader. He was the senior most among them, so they agreed to follow his instructions. All of them showed good coordination and somehow managed to start a fire. Staying close to that fire during the night would help their bodies survive. But even after this, John discusses with the employees that they must remove the dead bodies lying around. The wolves already know that there are many dead human bodies here, and they will definitely come in large packs to eat them. This is an extremely dangerous sign, so this problem must be solved. John explains his plan that they must either bury the dead bodies or leave them somewhere far away so that the wolves do not come toward them. Everyone understood the logic, but they also knew how deadly and man-eating these wild wolves were. If they got even a single chance, they would attack a human in packs and finish him instantly. But following John's plan was necessary because he had the most experience. While John is sitting near the fire, he suddenly hears growling sounds coming from all directions. He immediately picks up a burning torch and walks a little ahead. Everyone gets shocked because there wasn't just one wolf. An entire pack had arrived to attack them. These wolves looked much stranger and far more terrifying than normal wolves. Everyone becomes extremely scared, but John says they must not run. If they try to run out of fear, the wolves will definitely chase and kill them. They must hold the burning torches and keep staring directly at the wolves. John's companions do exactly that, and for a long time all of them continue staring at the wolves without blinking. After some time, the wolves slowly begin to retreat and eventually disappear into the darkness. They leave only because the humans are carrying fire torches, and in a situation where a predator stands confidently in front of them, the wolves, no matter how fierce, step back. They were not getting scared at all, nor were they running away. Because of this behavior, it was obvious that other animals assumed the humans were predators, stronger and more dominant. That is why the animals did not fight. But John explained that the wolves would definitely return to attack them later. This meant each person would have to take turns standing guard and protecting their group. Night grew deeper, and the cold refused to stop. John decided he would take the first guard shift and asked the others to rest. John continued his shift for a very long time and fulfilled his duty properly. But when it was the next man's turn, he fell asleep in the middle of his watch. The wolves took advantage of this moment and attacked him. They dragged his legs and bit him viciously, causing massive damage. During the night, no one realized that their teammate had died. When morning arrived, John's companions found his dead body. It was obvious that the wolves had attacked him because he became careless. But John noticed something strange. The wolves did not eat him, they only killed him. John understood why. They were all standing inside the wolves' territory, and the wolves saw them as a threat. Therefore, the wolves wanted to kill them to protect their own land. So the first priority was to escape from that place. No animal likes intruders in its territory. John then told his remaining companions that they must gather as many resources as possible. John could see some trees in the distance. He decided they should move in that direction, even though it was extremely far. But they had to travel far away in order to escape the wolves. If night came again, the wolves might attack once more. This was a risk John and the remaining employees could no longer afford to take. So all of them collected the wallets of their dead companions and kept whatever resources were left. They kept the wallets so that if they ever managed to return home, they could give their families a final memory of their loved ones. But they had no idea that this was just the beginning of the real danger. Apart from the deadly cold, they would soon face some hybrid creatures, animals they could never have imagined, but we will stay with them and help them overcome every challenge. They all continued their journey forward, but icy winds were blowing fiercely, and a snowstorm could arrive at any moment. While traveling, one of John's companions became extremely exhausted. He collapsed onto the snow and wasn't able to walk anymore. Suddenly, he heard a sound from behind, and when he turned around, he saw a pack of wolves running toward him. Within moments, the wolves reached him and started biting him brutally. That poor employee screamed for John and the others, but it was already too late. By the time they looked back, the wolves had ripped his entire body apart. These wolves were many times more dangerous than anything anyone had ever heard about. It was clear that John's friend could not be saved, so John and the remaining survivors moved on to protect their own lives. The cold had increased so much that their legs were becoming numb. Many of them told John that they should stay near the crashed plane and wait for the rescue team. But John made it very clear that staying there would put their lives in greater danger, and no rescue team would ever come to this region. This was the most dangerous area in all of Alaska, and they were horribly trapped. They should not expect anyone to come and save them. Later, they also found out that a wolf pack was following them. So John and the group started running quickly. Because of a steep slope covered in snow, they slipped downward until they reached a flat surface. As soon as they stopped, they lit a fire quickly. The fire might help keep the wolves away, but they still needed more ways to protect themselves. John gathered many sticks for his group and told them to place small gun bullets on top of them. If any wolf approached, they could use these improvised weapons to scare or hurt the wolves. At least the small explosion would frighten the wolves and force them to run away. Everyone liked this plan, except one employee. His name was Luke, and from the beginning he had been extremely jealous of John. Luke openly said that John's plan was useless. and that they would get killed because of it. Luke even blamed John for all the people who had died so far. He said that if they had stayed near the plane, everyone would have been safe. Their argument escalated into a serious fight, and Luke even pulled out a knife. They wrestled, but John overpowered him and pinned him down. Suddenly, they realized that a wolf was standing right in front of them, staring directly at them without blinking. John and the others immediately stood together. This wolf was stranger and more terrifying than any they had seen before. Its eyes were frightening, and its body was much larger than normal wolves. After staring at them for a long time, the wolf slowly walked away. Based on his knowledge, John explained that the wolves had sent that wolf to observe them. It was scouting the area, and soon the entire wolf pack might arrive, so they needed to plan their escape quickly. Later, when they were sitting near the fire discussing their next steps, suddenly a wolf attacked Luke. This wolf was smaller than the others, but still it injured Luke badly. But John and the others fought together and managed to kill the wolf. They were extremely hungry, so they decided to cook the wolf meat and eat it, because they had no other food left for survival. The dead wolves were burned, and they even ate them. From this, their bodies would surely receive some nutritional elements. But now, growling sounds of wolves began echoing from all around them. Perhaps those wolves had already realized that one of their companions had died, and they would definitely return to take revenge and attack them. John explained all of this to his members, and now they could not even wait until nightfall. In that freezing night and the dangerous snowstorm, they were forced to move forward. Even after walking for a long time, they could not find any hiding area, so they lit a fire in the forest and stopped there. But if we ever get trapped in such a dangerous condition, where the temperature around us is extremely low and deadly wolves are planning to attack us, then knowing the weaknesses of these wolves becomes extremely important. First of all wolves get heavily distracted by noise. If you shout loudly or make sudden sounds, they might get scared and run away. Lighting a fire or using any flashlight whose beam falls directly into their eyes can also help in scaring them away. Along with this, just like other animals, these wolves also suffered from rabies and many other diseases. If they did not get proper food on time, they would eventually die on their own. So, among all these things, the first thing we must remember is to never throw food items here and there. Doing so would attract wolves toward us, and by eating those scraps, they would continue receiving nutrients. I have always said that to defeat any animal, show yourself as big as possible. If you are in a group, stand together and make it appear that you all are not multiple individuals, but one large creature. This can scare the predator away. But here, the condition of John and his companions had already become far more serious than before. They had planned that they would move ahead during the night, but one of their companions named Jackson became extremely sick, and they were forced to stop right there. Now John understood that the winds were getting stronger. Slowly, snowfall would begin, increasing the cold even more. A snowstorm could arrive at any moment. So now it was clear that even if the wolves did not attack them, the extinguishing of the fire and the extreme cold would eventually kill them. And finally, what they feared actually happened. The snowstorm had begun there. The fire went out, and everyone sat there shivering from the intense cold. Poor Jackson, who was sick, became completely stiff. John tried to lift him, but eventually he took his last breath. All the others also became stiff from the cold. If they delayed even a little, all of them would die as well. When the storm calmed down, John somehow managed to light the fire again and provided warmth to the others. For many hours, they continued doing the same thing, and once morning arrived, they started moving again. They could not stay in one place anymore because of those dangerous wolves. After several hours of continuous traveling, John suddenly noticed a tree. On the side of that tree, a label was attached, from which he understood that this was a government-authorized tree. That meant the government kept track of the number of trees present in this forest, and it was possible that the base camp of those government officers was not very far from them. Suddenly, John and his companions heard the sound of flowing water, and they felt relieved, immediately moving toward it. But the problem was that a huge gorge was present in front of them. There was no visible way to cross this massive gorge, and below it flowed a river. That meant they were now badly trapped. They could not go back because the pack of wolves would be waiting for them, and crossing such a long gorge was impossible for them. Overall, they were stuck in a place where the cold increased just like the rising market shares of a famous brand. Now, with no other option left, John and his companions decided that one person would jump onto the trees ahead. By tying a rope around the trees, they could hold it and help the others cross safely. Other than this plan, they had nothing else, so they began executing it. One man somehow tied the rope around his body, used some pieces of cloth, and jumped. He managed to catch the trees, but one piece of cloth slipped. Luckily, another man grabbed that cloth with his hands and pulled it. Otherwise, the first man would have died, and the others would have remained stuck there. After tying both ends of the rope securely, everyone slowly began crossing to the other side. John, Luke, and the others reached near the tree, but when a man named Ben crossed at the end, his foot accidentally got stuck in the cloth. When he tried to remove it, the cloth suddenly tore. Poor Ben fell from such a great height and crashed below. He was injured so badly that he couldn't even move. The others hurried down to save him as quickly as possible. At that moment, Ben began hallucinating and saw his daughter standing in front of him. He had also decided that he would leave this job and go back to his family. But unfortunately, now he would never be able to return to his family. In his final moments, he was only looking at his daughter. But in the next moment, the entire pack of wolves arrived. They grabbed Ben and dragged him away. By the time John and the others reached down, they realized the wolves had dragged him away and killed him. Now, the remaining men could do nothing except continue moving forward. The snowstorm kept getting stronger, but they refused to stop because stopping meant inviting death. Somehow, the remaining 3 members reached the river whose sound they had heard from the height. The problem now was that Luke's leg, where the wolves had pierced him, had developed a serious wound. He was finding it extremely difficult to walk, so he told them he could not continue with them. He said both of them must move ahead alone. John and Henry tried to convince Luke, telling him he must come with them because those wolves could attack him at any moment. But Luke told them the truth, that he had no purpose left to return. No one was waiting for him back home, and his family considered him useless. So instead of going back there, he would stay here and enjoy nature in his own way. Luke's words carried a lot of honesty. So after trying to convince him many times, when he still refused, John and Henry wished him the best of luck and left. They had no idea whether Luke would survive or not. He was completely dependent on luck. After walking ahead for a while, John and Henry suddenly heard the sound of the wolves' pack behind them, running rapidly toward them. Immediately, both of them increased their speed to escape. When the wolves came too close, Henry accidentally fell into the water. The current was extremely strong, and he couldn't control himself, calling out to John for help. John jumped into the water to save him. After going a little distance, Henry found a piece of wood. He thought he could hold it and stop himself, but the strong current caused his foot to get stuck between the rocks. Because his foot was stuck, he couldn't even rise above the water, and now he began losing his breath. John tried to reach Henry as quickly as he could. John reached Henry, desperate to help him. He was giving Henry mouth-to-mouth oxygen, repeatedly assuring him, "I will save you." But the water was unbearably cold, and Henry could not withstand it. His life slipped away despite John's efforts. Completely devastated, John dragged himself across the snow to the other side. Every single one of his team members had already died, and now he was the only one left, unsure of how long he could survive. At one point, overwhelming negative feelings crept in, convincing John that he too might not make it. He even thought that giving up his own life might be easier, since no rescue team would ever come to save him. Around him, the extreme cold and the ferocious presence of wild predators made survival almost impossible. Still, John tried to force himself to keep moving forward. At the very least, he hoped to reach the government's base camp, where he might finally be rescued. But surviving in such freezing temperatures was nearly beyond human capability. Exhaustion soon overcame him, and he collapsed in the snow. As he rested, John looked at the wallets of his fallen team members that he carried with him. Each wallet represented a life lost, and he had planned to return them to the families of the deceased. John carefully examined them, seeing the faces of family members, children, and wives, all looking so happy in their lives. He imagined the grief their families would feel when they learned of their loved ones' deaths, and the weight of that thought weighed heavily on him. Among those wallets was one belonging to his own wife. John's mind drifted into memories, recalling the time when she had fallen gravely ill. Despite all his efforts to save her, the disease was too dangerous, and he had lost her. Even as these memories haunted him, a growling sound returned, pulling John back to the present. He looked around and realized the wolves were surrounding him, clearly intent on attacking and killing him. At that moment, John's courage wavered. He had almost stopped trying to survive, even considering ending his own life rather than face the deadly animals. Yet somewhere in his mind, memories of his childhood flickered, reminding him of the times he went hunting with his father. His father had always told him that the fight is never over, and that one must give their all until the very end. Recalling these words, John felt a spark of resolve awaken inside him. He decided he would fight until the very last moment, following his father's teachings. John had no bullets left, only a few glass bottles remained in his backpack. Thinking quickly, he tied the bottles to his hands and broke them, creating makeshift sharp weapons that could function like Wolverine-style claws. This small act gave him renewed motivation, and he stood ready to face the group of wolves. The wolves, aware he was alone, showed no fear and closed in. The fight began instantly, wolves lunging at him while John defended himself with his improvised weapons. He injured several wolves and threw them to the ground. The battle raged on for some time, but eventually the wolves lay on the snow, breathing but incapacitated. John, meanwhile, was heavily injured, struggling to remain upright. It was uncertain whether he would survive. In these final moments, the courage John displayed was a direct result of the confidence instilled in him by his father. From childhood, he had been taught to fight until the very end and never give up. It seemed that his life might not be saved, and so this tragic tale comes to an end here. So viewers, if you found my narration thrilling, heart-stopping, or even slightly gripping, smash that like button and let's see if we can hit 10,000 likes on this video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss these intense edge-of-your-seat stories. We'll be back with even more epic adventures and survival tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until then, stay tuned and take care. Bye-bye.